The muffled thump of the rotor blades was a familiar, almost soothing rhythm against the skin of the MH-47 Chinook as it sliced through the thin, cold air of the Hindu Kush. Inside, the world was a cramped, vibrating capsule of night vision green and hushed, professional tension. Master Chief Petty Officer Sam Traynor ran a final systems check on her Mk-13 Mod 7 sniper rifle, her gloved fingers moving with the practiced ease of a concert pianist. The stock was worn smooth in all the right places, a testament to the thousands of hours she'd spent behind it, peering through the scope at a world most people would never see. For the 10 Navy SEALs crowded into the helicopter with her, Sam was an anomaly they had initially resisted and now grudgingly respected. She wasn't just the first woman to complete the notoriously brutal SEAL sniper course. She was, in their estimation, a damn fine shooter. But tonight, the mission parameters had shifted their dynamic. They were inserting deep into the shock valley, not for a direct assault, but for a high-value target, HVT, snatch and grab. Their intelligence placed a Taliban commander, known as the Engineer, in a complex of mud brick buildings, and the only viable overwatch position was a jagged, windswept ridgeline 1,000 meters out. That was Sam's objective. She would be alone. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Thorne, the troop commander, leaned over, his face a mask of green paint and grim determination. "Traynor, we'll be in the valley before you have eyes on. The second we start the breach, all hell is going to break loose. Their security detail is reportedly heavy. We're counting on you to keep the heat off our backs." Sam just gave a curt nod. Her voice, when it came through the intercom, was calm, almost serene. "I'll have your 6, sir, from the moment you step off the bird until you're back on it with the package." The SEALs, men like Mike Gunny Harris and Tony Vapor Castellano, exchanged glances. They'd heard the murmurs from the planning room, the quiet, pointed skepticism that had followed Sam like a shadow. "A sniper's a sniper," they'd said. "But this is different. This is a hornet's nest. If she misses even one of their shooters, we're all dead." They didn't say it to her face, but the air was thick with unspoken doubt. They were a brotherhood forged in blood and fire, and she was an outsider, a variable they hadn't yet fully calculated. And the Chinook banked sharply, the pilot expertly navigating the treacherous mountain passes. Through the small window, Sam could see the moonlit peaks, ancient and indifferent. She thought of her father, a Marine who'd done 2 tours in Vietnam. He'd taught her to shoot when she was 6, a tiny .22 rifle propped on a hay bale in their Montana backyard. "The rifle doesn't care if you're a boy or a girl, Sam," he'd told her, his breath misting in the cold air. "It only cares if you're true. Be true to the rifle, and it will be true to you." She'd carried that lesson with her through the Naval Academy, through the skepticism of BUD/S, and into the harshest environments on Earth. This was just another proving ground. The helicopter flared, its nose rising as it hovered mere feet above a dusty, boulder-strewn landing zone. The ramp dropped, and a blast of frigid air and swirling dust filled the cabin. The SEALs poured out, a dark tide of lethality, and immediately melted into the shadows. Sam was the last one off. She gave a final thumbs up to the crew chief, then hefted her heavy pack and her rifle, and began the punishing climb to her perch. The Chinook lifted off, disappearing into the night sky, leaving her utterly alone in the vast, silent emptiness of the Afghan mountains. The only sounds were the crunch of her boots on the shale and the hammering of her own heart, a steady drumbeat against the cold. By the time she reached the designated position, a shallow depression between 2 large boulders that offered a panoramic view of the valley floor, the first gray light of dawn was beginning to seep over the eastern peaks. Below her, a world was slowly waking up. She could see the cluster of buildings, a small fortified village, really, through her high-powered spotting scope. Using her laser rangefinder, she confirmed the distance. 1,142 meters. A long shot, but well within her capability. The wind was gusting, tricky, but manageable. She settled into her position, building a stable platform with her pack and the bipod of her rifle. She chambered a .300 Norma Magnum round, the sound a sharp metallic snap in the morning stillness. Then she waited. She listened to the tactical net through her earpiece, the hushed voices of the SEALs as they took their final positions around the village. Viper 1 to all stations in position. Stand by. Thorne's voice was a whisper. Sam scanned the buildings, her crosshairs dancing over windows and rooftops. She saw movement. A man with a PKM machine gun on the roof of the main building, another patrolling the perimeter with an AK-47 slung over his shoulder. She counted more. 2 more on a second roof, a guard by a compound gate. The intel had been right. This was a hardened position. She began assigning them numbers in her mind. Target 1, roof. Target 2, perimeter. Target 3, secondary roof. Viper 1, this is long shot, she whispered into her mic. I have eyes on. Confirm at least 6, maybe more, visible hostiles. Over. Copy, long shot, Thorne replied. We're a go. Stand by for initiation. The seconds stretched into an eternity. The sun crept higher, painting the valley in shades of gold and amber. Sam controlled her breathing, slowing her heart rate, becoming one with the rock beneath her. And the wind whispered over the scope, a constant, invisible variable she had to calculate and recalculate. Then, the silence shattered. A burst of gunfire echoed from the village, followed by the distinctive crump of a grenade. The SEALs had begun their breach. Through her scope, she saw the sudden violent chaos erupt below. The front gate exploded inward. She saw the dark shapes of her team moving with terrifying speed and precision, pouring into the compound. And then the world lit up. From windows, from rooftops, from hidden spider holes, a torrent of fire erupted. The Taliban security detail was not just heavy, it was a fully fledged army. The SEALs were immediately pinned down, caught in a deadly crossfire. The calm, professional voices on the net were replaced by urgent, clipped reports. Contact front. Contact right. I'm hit. E-man down. Sam's world narrowed to a single point of focus. Her crosshairs settled on the machine gunner on the main roof. He was raking the courtyard where she'd last seen Gunny and Vapor take cover. She took a deep breath, let half of it out, and gently squeezed the trigger. The rifle bucked against her shoulder, a deafening roar in the mountain silence. 1,000 meters away, the machine gunner's head snapped back, and he crumpled behind his weapon. One down. She worked the bolt, chambering another round. Long shot, we need that overwatch. Thorne's voice was strained. On it, she breathed, her voice cold steel. She found target 2, the perimeter guard who was now firing from behind a low wall. The wind gusted. She adjusted, held her breath, and fired. The man spun and fell, 2 down. But then she saw it. But a flicker of movement in a second-story window she hadn't initially cleared. A man with a Dragunov SVD sniper rifle, a counter-sniper. He was tracking something in the courtyard, his scope trained on the very spot where she'd seen Thorne take cover. Her blood ran cold. Viper 1, break right! Counter-sniper, second story, east window! She yelled into the mic. She didn't wait to see if Thorne heard her. Her crosshairs were already swinging onto the window. The enemy sniper was good. He was already settling his aim, but Sam was faster. She fired, the round a desperate prayer sent across the valley. The window shattered, and the sniper disappeared from view. 3 down. The battle raged for what felt like hours, but was only minutes. The SEALs, though pinned, were fighting back with savage fury. And Sam became their angel of death on the mountain. Each time a new threat emerged, each time a gunman popped up to take aim at her team, she methodically, inexorably ended them. She fired again, and another rooftop fighter fell. 4 down. She saw a man rushing to man an abandoned RPG, ready to fire into the compound. Her shot took him in the chest, 5 down. A shooter appeared in a doorway, spraying an AK-47 towards the SEALs. He never made it past the threshold. 6 down. The murmurs on the net had stopped. In their place was a stark, reverent silence between the bursts of fire, punctuated only by her calm, steady updates. Target down. Moving to next. The SEALs, fighting for their lives, knew that the only reason they were still breathing was the phantom on the ridgeline, of the unseen hand that was tilting the odds in their favor with every thunderous crack of her rifle. Inside the compound, Thorne and his men fought their way to the main building. They found the engineer trying to escape through a back window and swiftly subdued him. But the extraction was the most dangerous part. With the HVT in tow, they had to fight their way back out of the kill zone, and the surviving Taliban, enraged by the loss of their commander and their men, were not going to let them leave easily. The fire intensified, a last desperate attempt to annihilate the infidel raiders. From her perch, Sam could see the situation deteriorating. More fighters were converging on the compound from a neighboring village. They were getting ready for a final, overwhelming push. She counted 7 new shooters fanning out and taking up positions in the alleys and behind rocks. They were disciplined, moving tactically. These were not raw recruits. These were the engineers' veteran bodyguards. They were the last line of defense. Sam's heart sank. There were too many. She couldn't engage them all fast enough. If they flanked the SEALs, the mission would be a catastrophe. She keyed her mic, her voice quiet but firm. Viper 1, long shot. You have 7 new tangos converging from the north. They're setting up for a final assault. I can't get them all. You need to move, now. Down in the valley, Thorne heard her words and the hopelessness in them. He looked at his men, dragging a kicking HVT, low on ammo, with 2 wounded. They were 100 meters from the rally point where the Chinook would extract them. The enemy fire was relentless, and he saw a group of fighters maneuvering on their flank just as Sam had warned. This was it. This was the moment the textbooks warned you about. He prepared to give the order for a last stand. But Sam Traynor wasn't done. She wasn't a SEAL, not in the way they thought of themselves. She wasn't part of their brotherhood. But she was a sniper. And a sniper's job was to protect. She watched the 7 men move, saw their plan unfold with a chilling clarity. They were spreading out, making themselves harder targets, preparing to envelop the SEAL's position. A standard, effective tactical maneuver. She couldn't stop all 7, but maybe, just maybe, she could break them. The thought came to her not as a calculated tactical assessment, but as a primal instinct. It was the spirit of the hunt, the same instinct that had guided her ancestors on the plains of Montana. A wolf doesn't kill an entire herd. It scatters it by taking down the strongest. Her crosshairs settled on the leader, the man who was directing the others with hand signals. He was the largest, the most confident, standing partially exposed behind a rock, shouting orders. He was 1,150 meters away, a near impossible shot with the adrenaline coursing through her veins. She steadied her breathing, letting the world fall away until only the man and her crosshair existed. She felt the wind on her cheek, corrected for it one last time, and squeezed the trigger. The bullet covered the distance in just over a second. It struck the leader square in the chest, lifting him off his feet and throwing him backwards. The other 6 fighters froze for a split second, stunned. On their commander, their alpha, had just been erased from existence by an invisible force. Sam didn't hesitate. She worked the bolt, the motion a blur. She found the next man, the one closest to the leader, the one who looked most uncertain. He was turning, looking for cover. She fired. He went down. 7 down? No, that was only 2. 5 left. But the seed of doubt was planted. She fired again. Another man fell.